economy. So my focus today is more into the future of global Islamic economy, how things could be proactively brought in together in multiple resources. So let me actually start up. All right, I was just setting up things, right? So this is more of a session that's going to talk about the keys to building a halal economy. So my name is Fateh. I'm the CEO, co-founder of CollabDeen. We are a team of productivity experts revolutionizing the way how communities organize themselves, share information and knowledge, and collaborate with the people around the globe. We're reinventing the online-offline collaboration in the global Islamic world. So I've got a good background to speak about the halal economy or the halal ecosystem in particular, while we've spent so much time understanding and building technology solutions for this space. A bit of my background, I've been involved with JP Morgan, Fidelity Investments, and many other banks around over the 13 years of experience. Equally, I've got about 13 years of entrepreneurship experience while I was side hustling, setting up multiple businesses. I was also involved heavily on startup mentor coaching around the world. I've been involved with a couple of initiatives around where I was also involved in LinkedIn Local, setting up communities across the professional network. I've been volunteered at various nonprofits. It could be of various type of communities, starting from faith, non-faith, nonprofits, profit-based communities. So I've got immense experience around touch points where we were dealing with communities on the ground, understanding the mindset of people, understanding challenges, and specifically my role has always been with regards to technology, how technologically we can add value. I've also been involved and been part of the Global Goodwill Ambassador program. That's a brief about me. Now, to begin with, let me understand and ask a couple of things. I'm not sure if you've been able to look at my screen clearly. Let me ask a rough thought and process, right? There have been so important of being fast in the world. There are some of the fastest things that grows in the ecosystems across everywhere. So if I could ask, there are two things that is as fast as nobody could predict. Things have changed, things have revolutionized, things have been really rapidly progressing in terms of how things change, how quickly. On one side, when I ask people, they always have been talking about, technology. Technology is something that's rapidly changing and rapidly improvising each day as we speak. There are thousands of new initiatives, new startups coming in, revolutionizing, disrupting the existing ecosystem. On the other hand, there's something important. That's not being really spoken about at large. What is that? Just food for your thought, right? That's something called the human race, right? Human population is growing rapidly. It's one of the fastest way how human repopulate, and things have been so progressively going on in this direction. So give you a glimpse of it. Roughly about 12,000 years ago is when the first human was born on this planet, and then it took ages together to reach the first million human on Earth, which is only until 1804. It took only 123 years later where the second million baby was born. And moving from there, the growth really accelerated, and things have started being, populating in so much space where, we reached, the whole race reached 3 billion in 1959. Sorry if I've stopped talking about millions, it's billions. 4 billion came in 1974. Another 3 billion babies were born from the time I was born, and last 35 years, we reached the 7th million baby around. And now in 2020, the world is reaching 8 billion as in population. why am I actually saying this? Why am I putting this into context of this particular topic, right? So when you look at it at a large top level, all right, there are about 8 billion people walking on this planet, among which 2 billion are the Muslim population. So these Muslims have a very different of changing the way everything just changes for the whole ecosystem, right? There is a single biggest market in the world that has been largely overlooked by many, the global halal market, right? So what I've put down here is on the screen, not many have been spoken in this regards in the past, right? We've always been focused on the global Islamic economy, focused on the lifestyle sector. So whatever reports that you see from, say, Dinar Standards, coming out from Salam Gateways, right? These are the reports and research that's being done. They always talk about the global Islamic economy from a lifestyle sector point of view. So I'll talk a bit more details into that, but there's another big chunk of things and big ecosystem. Not many people have been spoken, and in fact, none of them have been spoken so far from our research. So we are trying to see how much values we can add from this faith-based ecosystem. So there are two ecosystems, which is something new that you might be hearing in this presentation. So we all know the lifestyle sector, the halal economy, being $3.6 trillion in terms of economy. The halal economy is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity that captures the core of faith-based Muslim spend. The sector covered in the report includes food, pharmaceutical, cosmetic, modest fashion, with an additional focus on Muslim-centered travel, Islamic themed media and recreation, as well as Islamic finance. So these are the primary aspects when a lifestyle sector of the global Islamic economy is being talked. So most people think it only refers to the prohibited, meat, but halal is a lot more, more holistically than, everything. Halal is a lifestyle, a quality assurance system. It's beyond religion. It's very much inclusive. It's something that is above or equal to the goodness of the human race. Now, talking about the faith side of the ecosystem, it's a $1.9 trillion ecosystem, primarily focused heavily on the congregation, where masjids, or the mosque, educational institute, Islamic centers, organizations, societies, all these things, all these in the ecosystem has a running ecosystem. Say, for example, the educational institute that itself within the UK, there are about close to 700 Islamic institutes, and these have the fees that's coming in, the teachers being paid, the ecosystem that gets evolved into the whole education institute. It's not something that's been added into the ecosystem of the global Islamic economy. Same goes with masjid. You talk about fundraisings to donations and the membership management, spending on the masjids, spending on the Islamic centers or organization society for their food, even the smallest of things from picking up the mic, talking, event announcement, the technology that they consume, all those things builds up to an $1.9 trillion of the ecosystem. That is huge. So now talking about the actual thing, right? There is a huge gap when you start looking things at a very high level, at a global perspective, that the global Islamic economy is split. For example, now let's talk about a smaller business randomly in Jakarta, right? Jakarta, if there's a halal merchant who is trying to add value in his local geography, it only is subsidized to that particular region, that smaller section of that region, where things have been only nicely positioned to work only in that local geography, while another, say, business in Malaysia, in a very similar business concept, business model, it's only working in that very micro level. So when you start looking, put it into a global perspective, there are millions of businesses running only in a very small geography. This is a very, very challenging for the ecosystem. Business has to evolve. It has to evolve, and it also have to have cross connections, cross collaborations. There's so much to do into this ecosystem that can be evolved, that can be improvised. The whole pie of the global Islamic economy can be increased. You don't need to fight for the pie, but the whole ecosystem has a huge potential, and which is growing. We have all seen 5.6 to 6 to close to 6% of the growth in the global Islamic economy is going on and on for the last few years, and potentially it's being told this ecosystem will very soon reach to $6 trillion. Now, this could only happen when there are a set of frameworks that's being laid out at largely at the top level. There is an easy way of people communicating, collaborating, and exchanging values. A business in, say, Jakarta, as an example, knows how to sell that in London, sell that in the UK, right? So when this happens seamlessly with the use of technology, only then this ecosystem will start evolving much better. So giving you examples of further, as we always speak about 3.2, $3.6 trillion of, Islamic economy that's growing potentially with 5.2% year-on-year growth. The population is almost 2 billion now. Asia has been considered as home to these, the largest segment of this global Islamic economy, which is 65% of users on this planet are, Gen Zs, and, they're tech native, they're tech enabled. While this is happening, it becomes very easy for people to, speed up the ecosystem because they're already tech enabled. There are youths, there are millennials who are really on the fast pace. When you consider the youngest median age is about 24 years in terms of this particular market, which is one of the youngest median age, if you consider any other faith-based ecosystem or in general. So on the left, there's something very interesting. Not many people might be knowing about this gummy, right? Gummies are about 650 million of 2 billion population, right? So gummies are global urban Muslim millennial youth, right? This is a term given in the West. And while things have started evolving, the focus of every brand, businesses, or influencers around the world is to capture these gummy as the target market. So when this happens, it becomes easy for them to start evolving, start building up something onto their ecosystem, and then start growing from there. So this is also one of the key elements that we all have to look at it when you actually try and target and build up your business ecosystem. Moving on, technology ecosystem, like we've always known, has been classified in the 8 different segments, even by the Global Islamic Economy, Dubai, right? Islamic standards, Islamic finance, halal industries on one side, family-friendly tourism, Islamic knowledge, Islamic digital economy, and Islamic fashion, art, and design. So these encompasses the usage, the whole ecosystem, how it's actually evolving. And primarily, from my background perspective, the technology that we are building, our focus is to bring the whole players, these are the different players, into our global Islamic economy ecosystem. We are trying to see how we can add value to them by giving technology. So our technologies focus more on providing technologies to these faith and faith congregation systems around the world. So how do we do it? They're like very challenging sector. Right now we're building up a base which is primarily, as I mentioned in the early introduction, we're building up a system or an ecosystem that provides technology where they can share information and knowledge, collaborate within their geographies, build their communities, and cross collaborate into their whole ecosystem. I won't get into details of how we are doing it. Probably that could be a different session because today, right now, I'm just speaking about the key areas into the global Islamic economy. So it's a top level view. We can always have more further discussions if there's any information needed, or we can park a couple of things into the questionnaires at the end where I would be able to answer. Now, this is the core area. We always have talked about the 4 key steps to building halal ecosystem, right? That's the whole agenda was for today. But I definitely don't want to spend more time. I just want to give a high overview of how this is being positioned. So there is a global approach. So if you start putting these into the 4 key steps, of building the halal ecosystem, one of the fundamental primary layer is always comes to the vision and leadership. Any business that comes up, on day one, you can decide whether this business is a local business or a global business. That it all depends on the vision. It depends on the experience that you have based on the leadership. So if somebody is, always narrowed down, focusing on, just to get the ends meet and try to see if you can complete a cycle of business or sales within the local geography. They'll also always, try and circulate within the same cycle unless you have a clear vision from day one that you might want to try something at the beginning level and then move on to the probably move from a small town to a city to a state or the country, and then move to a global level. The second layer, that criteria that I've put down, is very, very crucial. This is the future of a global Islamic economy, right? The critical success factors of the whole global Islamic economy depends and relies on the technology. But not many people have been getting into consuming or using or building technologies in this ecosystem. Why would I say that? We've done immense research and surveys, spoken to people around the world. We have traveled around the world to really understand what's happening. So people only try and consume things, try to meet the ends at the moment. But situations like these, the COVID scenario, where, for example, masjids had never used technology. Now it's a very important, crucial time for them to stay connected with the whole congregations. It's time for them to survive. When I talk about surviving, it all depends on how do they want to continue raising funds, donations, get the memberships done, while keeping the community members all around across at it remotely. So things like COVID or these kind of pandemics have really changed the way how people think. So same thing is going to happen within the regards of the business or the brands segment of this global Islamic economy. Now, we have started seeing, for example, this particular session that we are doing, right, the Halal Conference, is all about, this actually started only because we did not have anything else later, right? Excuse me here. So we did not have, alternates to going out and setting up conferences. Only then these kind of Zoho meeting or Zoom started picking up. We started using technology, but are we prepared? Should have been prepared earlier on, establishing communities of remote online and offline. So when this happens, it's very important for every business to continue building something on offline and online collaboration. Only when this happens, things will start going towards the progressive path. When things like pandemic happens, people would be prepared. A lot of businesses at a global corporate level, they keep talking about business contingency plans. But what is the business contingency plans that we talk about in the global Islamic economy? Not many people have thought about. But these kind of situations have really given up an opportunity for everyone to sit back, think, and really acknowledge the reality that exists onto this planet. Because definitely there's a bigger planner, the best of planners is on the top, who is really trying to regulate the whole ecosystem. But that's another critical success factor. From technology is something that has to be consumed, prepared, planned, and executed well for every business sector within the global Islamic economy to really survive and flourish. Just to give you one example, nobody thought one day that Nokia would crash. Nokia, as one of the fastest growing company those days, when Apple came, nobody could think about how Apple as a phone could come and replace something as big as Nokia, right? What happened at the end, if you are not upgrading your technology, if you're not upgrading yourself with technology, you would become Nokia. So this is a kind of lesson that I've given to a lot of people who I mentor as well. So it's been really helpful for them, very beneficial in the way how things have started, progressively being picking up for them. It's always important to be on top of technology and to be in the speed of technology. Those are a couple of things that I mentioned. Now, let's jump onto the, managing downside. It's very important to manage churn, focus on the increasing growth. That's a regular business progress that needs to be evolved as we move on. And at the top, everything now boils down. You might have a good business vision, you might have a good leadership and a winning team, you might have even got a good technology, you might be collaborating with people, you might be doing everything that needs to be done right for your business. But the most important thing on top is the partnerships. If you don't build up right partnerships, right collaborations, right branding, it's going to be impactful for your business in the long run. People not just remember you as an independent brand, but they remember you who you are. How do you do things? So all those things matter. So when you partner with multiple different businesses, organizations, people, your thought process, your branding, everything starts getting evolved. And when you start becoming more inclusive on the top, it becomes more easier for you to really start going ahead and planning your activities well. So this is for the key steps for building the halal ecosystem. Likewise, there are 4 key steps for building the foundation of a great halal business, right? Again, fundamentally things would not change here. On the bottom, the vision, leadership, and the winning team is still crucial. Critical success factors depends on your IPs, intellectual properties, marketing mix, operating system, the communications, collaboration, and the cash flow. Now, the fundamentals, it all boils down to the passion and dreams. That's not really not passion and dreams are not sufficient. That we all know. It needs to build up. It needs sound execution and the ability to make things happen. There's a really need of a clear vision for the company, strong leadership, different styles and various phases of company's growth, a winning team, commitment, initiative, and attitude. So that's on the vision leadership. But the critical success factors, as I mentioned, we have a couple of them on the screen. This cluster is critical to business. It's really very critical to building the sustainability of a great halal business, for a company to market halal products, to create wealth for the company in the long term. All this mix of these independent things that I've mentioned is quite crucial. While intellectual properties could be the very core areas for a few of them, but it could be different things for different people. Now, let me talk about a bit on managing downsides, right? Cost of goods, reduction, and sourcing strategies has to be really laid out well. Depend on your business, depending on how you are managing the overhead reduction, then the whole low-cost business model that you're really making it for a longer run of your business. So now, in terms of going global, as I mentioned, you have to expand and get the market coverage done well. There are 2 purposes for going global. Expand the market coverage and achieve economy of scale, right? Generate incremental profits altogether, but more, into complex. Important to evaluate your halal standards in those markets when you actually reach out into a new business sector. So there are multiple things we can go on, but one important crucial thing, like a halal certificate for JAKIM should be allowed to have an international access. So what I mean by this is any certification that you work upon has to be worked in terms of looking at how things could be done at a national or global level. Right? That's the JAKIM example I was trying to add on here. So that's on top of everything, right? At the end, it all boils down to how you build your business, how you build your community experience altogether. It's very crucial, and how we actually try to help these brand businesses to really build up as by having a very strong process and strategies, doing things effectively, building up things for these 650 million gummies that we're talking about, these global urban Muslim millennials, having a gamified solution versus having something that's not gamified would really matter from your business perspective. Having continuous learning, that's another very important factor that it is. But again, from our business point of view, for me, primarily, I've always been focused on technology, how to enable technology, especially the deep tech with the AI, Internet of Things, voice enabled, and new media technology. So this is the way we would actually revolutionize the global Islamic economy, the whole global Islamic sector. I think that's pretty much on what I actually wanted to convey, how these people are trying to organize themselves in an old way, in silos, as, getting things done on uh, multiple different tools. There are multiple different touch points that's happening, and we are trying to see how we can add value with a new way of collaboration workspace, where you can, internally build your business collaborations within your internal teams. It could be a global team or a local team. How do you communicate? How you actually collaborate with your external communities or external uh, the consumer market, and you as an administrator having an overview of everything, not just relying on your, say, marketing leads, or somebody who is managing the funds. Overall, having one particular dashboard giving you a complete access of what's happening, a snapshot of everything on a day-to-day basis. As what we are trying to help these businesses, brands, and even including influencers on one side. On the other hand, uh, providing value to these faith-based congregations, madrasas, mosques, Islamic centers, and organizations to really use these kind of technologies to collaborate, build their own community. Right? Building local and global ecosystem. These are the few very crucial items that you'll have to work upon, which I've already touched upon. One of the thing is awareness, global branding. You have to build and bring more and more ambassadors to your business, build your community as your business, as your influencer, as your faith-based segment. Share goodness, that's very important. That's the principle of Islam as well. So giving back to the community is another last segment. So I'm just touching upon multiple different touch points, not really going in deep, because I was told that this is being catered to the larger audience. One important thing, what I've been recently featured with the Indonesian Halal Lifestyle Center, where they've been quoted me. This is a primary motto that I always talk to people and share things. The existing halal lifestyle is just the tip of iceberg. The true potential opens with the consumption of technology in this ecosystem, where consumers and brands are able to build remote collaborations in every sector of global Islamic economy. That's an important factor for everyone to start considering now on. If you're not thinking of technology being part of your business, you'll have to really start looking into that actions. So another thing probably I can just add on is, you'll have to bring values into your ecosystem by providing, uh, being inclusive, being very serious about your business, making things very halal, not just in terms of what you're providing to the consumer, to yourself, right? When I say that, it's very important for yourself to go out and uh, share those basic principles of being halal, try to do halal business, and inshallah, things would really start formulating well for you. Um, that's pretty much on where we are heading in terms of what we can actually provide. But probably I can open up for questions if there are any. Okay, one couple of screens I have before I end. This is more onto our business from CollabDeen's point of view. We are actually setting up this platform for everyone. Goals with your community are achieved here. We are a team of productivity experts, as we are revolutionizing the way communities organize themselves, share knowledge and information by reinventing all online collaboration, is what I just mentioned. We are really doing this on the ground. I can actually play a quick video before we end for you to kind of get a glimpse of what we are trying to showcase here. Hope this benefits. page, every brand, business, or a faith-based ecosystem will start building up their community, start sharing, getting things done, getting events created here. An augmented way, I was talking about deep technologies, augmented way of knowledge sharing. You have all the nearby communities that you can, anywhere around the world. There are already about 3 million plus communities already on our platform, which is, sharing things. My daughter is just coming around and watching. All right, so that's pretty much, there are polls happening. There are multiple things that can be done on this community platform, and we would definitely want to share how these things will be, organized for your business brands. While you can also start looking at things, nearby masjids, community. You can also see events around you, businesses around you, all the halal places around you. You can build up your community page or business page where you can start sharing things with the global Islamic economy people, where we are building an ecosystem. On one side, you have a collaboration, getting the faith-based ecosystem. On the other hand, bringing brands, businesses, influencers to come here, share things, as many things as possible, get collaborations, and put things into context of events. Even you can share things. Say, for example, events are specifically shared with your right target audience, brothers, sisters, or whoever the target audience for your events are. It could be a business event, it could be a faith congregation events. Things have been very much organized, very simplified, very simple way of putting things as a news feed for all the information. Yeah, I think that's pretty much on what we have for today. But practically, there's so much that these ecosystem can be doing things and into the global Islamic economy. I'm very sure a lot of information can be organized, built into this ecosystem through using these technologies. With that, I'll just stop on and probably also open up for questions if there are. Otherwise, I'll always be happy coming back to these recordings and sharing more information as much as needed. I've been asked a couple of questions earlier. Probably I'll see if there's something that's coming up from on my devices. All right. Yep, I think a couple of questions being asked. I see people are typing. I can give you a quick glimpse of what's happening and at a global level. Okay, looks like my screen has been stopped. Okay, looks like my screen has been stopped. Probably I'm sharing it again. So probably to give you another glimpse of the whole global Islamic economy overview. It's very important for everyone to stay connected, do things more organized, do get things again from how things you can collaborate. The best of things that can happen, building on collaboration. Collaboration should be your key focus. We definitely would call upon how we can all be part of this global Islamic economy ecosystem that we are building. We'll be happy to talk about to anybody from community builders, innovators, government, policymakers. Let's join hands, do as many things possible together at a global level to bring everyone on the same page. With that, I'll just stop for now. Jazakallah khair. Thanks for watching this, and we'll try and see how I can add more values in terms of questions and answers if you